Hey everybody, today I'm going to build a table for my bandsaw. The materials you're going to need are some self-tapping screws. The ones I have are Tex brand, 1 7/16 inches long, and I get those from Light Lowe's or Home Depot. And you're going to need some 1/2-inch plywood and a piece of sheet metal and a vertically mounted bandsaw. This is the Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight. First thing we need to do, this is a 6x9 piece of sheet metal, and it's not going to fit unless we notch it out. We got to notch out for that vertical structure of the bandsaw. So I just kind of eyeballed it and put a couple of marks on there and tried to cut a little notch out of the corner. I'm going to do that with the bandsaw. Alright, see how it fits, and it fits pretty good. That'll work. It's not a real critical step. You just cut out just enough to make it fit. Now we need to mark where I'm going to drill my holes for my countersunk self-tapping screws. I just kind of eyeballed them, and we're drilling through the guide that comes with the saw, the guide that you use when you're cutting with it portably. We're going to mount that to that guide. It comes with the saw, and you have to install it when you get it. But I'm just going to attach it to that. Here I'm going to mark on my piece of plywood, so I'm going to cut this to match the sheet metal. I'll just take it over to the table saw. I'm not going to show that, it's pretty basic, just cut it to fit. And there you see that it got it lined up pretty good. And I already I drilled and countersunk my holes. I believe that the holes I drilled were 1/8 of an inch, but when you get your screws, you can check to make sure. You don't want to have your hole too big. But and I used a countersink tool to countersink, put a bevel on those holes where that head of that screw will go down actually beneath the surface of the sheet metal, but still catch on that bevel, so it's going to have a good hold, but that screw's not going to be in the way of our material when we use this saw. That's very important, to make sure your screws are all the way below, but you know they don't need to go all the way through it. Alright, now we're going to cut the bandsaw, the band guide in the plywood, so we can slide the whole assembly over the blade. Also too, what we need to do is cut a little bit out around where the actual blade's going to be going through the table, so we have plenty clearance, so it doesn't build up with a lot of filings or anything gets stuck down in there to put the blade in a bind. You want to make sure your blade has plenty of clearance to move freely, so I just kind of gnawed out a hole there. The sheet metal is going to cover that up, so it's not real critical, just as long as you got plenty of room. Found myself lining it up, just looking at it all the time, making sure everything looks straight. But right now we're going to attach this sheet metal to the wood. I'm going to countersink a couple of more holes on the outside edges and use standard drywall screws to attach the sheet metal to that wood. There you go. I didn't use any epoxy or glues or anything. I just screwed it to it, and the screws actually stuck out way far, so I ground them off with the angle grinder flush. That should hold it for now. And this tool right here is a pilot hole for drilling holes in like door hinges and things like that, so I figured it'd be good for this. It's a pretty handy tool. You can find them at hardware stores. I usually forget that I have it whenever I need it, but I happened to find it this time, and it'll help out. It'll pretty much center those holes, pilot holes for your screws, so you don't end up with any kind of alignment issues. You know, if you put any, see, there you go, it looks pretty good. That'll help out a lot. Now, in building this, I noticed that I cut that blade guide in that saw just one blade thickness, and taking in and out, I noticed that, you know, it's not as easy to take it in and out, take the blade in and out. So I decided to go ahead and make that slot a little bit wider, at least 2 blade thicknesses wide. So we just kind of have to go slow with it and work that slot out a little bit. Now there's no, you know, it's not going to affect anything other than it's easier to take the blade in and out if you need to change it. An important thing that I found out is that when you put this table on here, you want to make sure you don't cross that guide on the bottom, because if you do, you won't be able to take your blade out and change it. So you want to make sure that you have that blade can come in and out. So we'll get ready to attach it to that cutting guide, the original cutting guide. I just put a mark underneath it and lined it up where the edge of that's going to go. Got me a pencil mark there, and take that guide off. It's just 2 screws, no problem. We're going to clamp it to this table. That way it's going to keep it from moving, and then we'll clamp this down to the actual workbench, and I'm going to run some of these tough self-tapping screws through here. Now, I didn't speed this part up or anything, because I just wanted to show anybody that maybe has never used them before how easy they are to use. You don't need to drill anything, you don't need to tap anything, you just get your alignment hole and drive it through, and it's in there. They're really handy. I've had this box of screws for a previous project. That's why they're so long, but you can see they're going to be really long, but you just have to grind them off, and they work just fine. I'll put the final one in here. These 3 screws will hold it to that guide from now on. Alright, there it is. You can see those screws sticking out probably about 1 inch or better. Look at it from the top. See how it's all flush. There's nothing sticking out. So now we'll just grind these off flush with the bottom. And mount it on. Gonna have to have a long screwdriver to get underneath there, but you should be able to handle it. So there it is, it's on there. We're gonna give it a shot here in just a second. Everything looks pretty good. Alignment underneath there. So we'll try this 1/2 inch flat bar, or 1/2 inch stock, square stock. We'll cut it. Got it pretty good. Now while I was cutting that, this bar's kind of long. I noticed that the table had a little bit of play in it. It would kind of flex up and down a little bit from each end, so I decided I would put an extra brace on it. All I did was took a piece of scrap, a little 1x square piece, and countersunk a hole on the top and drill it in from the top and into the bottom of the base, and that really made it solid. I was able to square it up. It's fairly square. It's going to help make some good cuts. So that helped it out. There you go. I appreciate it. Appreciate you looking for the bandsaw table build. Y'all take it easy and come back and see if I post something else. Thanks. Bye.